Feverish scenes here in Westminster. A few minutes ago, this place was crazy, and now everyone's scarpered to try and get ready for the TV debates. These were how the votes amongst Conservative MPs broke down. Boris Johnson was the clear winner again, this time picking up 126 votes. Jeremy Hunt trailed a distant second with 46. Michael Gove got 41. Rory Stewart moved into fourth with 37. The Home Secretary, Sajid Javid, got 33, and Dominic Raab came bottom with 30. That means Dominic Raab is out, and barring any dropouts, the other 5 go through to the next round tomorrow night. Our political editor, Gary Gibbon, is with me. What's going on?
Well, in some ways, not a huge amount has changed, has it? Dominic Raab isn't there. If you talk to people in the Boris Johnson campaign, that was the person they were most concerned about being on the final 2, because they didn't want, as you said, to be outflanked on the Brexit side by someone who was more Brexiteer than Boris Johnson himself. They have managed to secure that. Dominic Raab is no longer part of the competition. As you said, momentum is so important in this. A lot of the other campaigns seem to have slightly stalled. Sajid Javid picked up a bit, but it's the Rory Stewart numbers that people are looking at. There he is, nipping on the heels, the rank outsider of Michael Gove, the man in 3rd place. Could he actually take it further? Can he actually grab any more support? Is there that much more available for him to squeeze in the next round?
How has this happened? I mean, there was some speculation that Boris Johnson would be trying to knock Rory Stewart out by sort of lending votes. Has there been tactical voting?
There has been so much deviousness going on. We will never get to the bottom of it. It's a secret ballot. Let me tell you one thing. You're only allowed to go vote if you put your mobile phone down in the counting room, put it to one side, so they know that you're not going to photograph your ballot paper. I believe a senior figure in the Boris Johnson campaign was telling people to go in with 2 phones so they could put one down and then go up to the ballot paper and take a photograph for him to see, to prove that they had voted for Boris Johnson. Or maybe to prove that they'd voted for someone else, because there's this suggestion that votes were loaned in order to get closer to the outcome that the Boris Johnson campaign wants. The suggestion is who they most want on the ticket against Boris Johnson is Jeremy Hunt, because they think he'll be quite civil and polite in the hustings, and less so some of the others. Did they lend votes to Jeremy Hunt, who seems to have, you would assume, having seen Rory Stewart's vote pick up, hemorrhaged some votes to Rory Stewart? Maybe they were backfilling. As I say, we will never ever know the real dark secrets, not all of them, of this, the second day of voting amongst Tory MPs. The leaders got further ahead of the pack, picking up the votes of candidates who've been eliminated. Maybe soon the votes of the latest candidate to be removed from the contest, Dominic Raab.
Who would you back if you get knocked out today?
Lovely to see you. Bye-bye.
Michael Gove's team hoped he would move ahead of the Foreign Secretary, Jeremy Hunt, today. But both candidates are crawling forward rather than getting momentum. Neither is threatening Boris Johnson.
There does need to be some talks. I've been recommending that for a while to different candidates and their teams, and I like to think that after this evening that will take a step forward.
You'd expect some dropouts?
I think there's a chance of that.
Some will expect Sajid Javid to be part of those conversations, now bottom of the pack, though 10 votes up on last week. Rory Stewart has had the biggest advance, up from 7th to 4th place. Earlier today, brazenly campaigning in front of the door of number 10. His campaign stirring some, antagonising others.
Well, we'll see. I'm feeling energised, but it's all down to how the MPs vote in the ballot. So I've got to convince those last few MPs to get across the line.
I don't think that anybody can dispute that Rory has been the outsider and the dark horse in this contest, and he seems to be coming through, and without doubt, showing human nature, that is likely to attract more to him.
I think Rory, and I've got nothing against him personally, but I think his campaign is passé. We've gone past that point. The people of this country voted to leave. And here's Rory trying to become the Prime Minister saying we should stay in, or effectively saying that. No, Rory, those days are gone.
So 5 candidates will debate on the BBC tonight, including Boris Johnson, fighting it out to face the Tory membership, who, according to a new opinion poll, are not up for compromise on Brexit. Asked, do you want Brexit even if it means Scotland leaves the UK, 63% said yes. To the question, do you want Brexit even if it means Northern Ireland leaves the UK, a similar number. And asked if they wanted Brexit even if it means significant damage to the UK economy, 61% said yes. Nearly half said they'd be happy if Nigel Farage became Conservative Party leader. 40% would be unhappy.
Are you off to vote now? I am, yes. And I shall vote Conservative.
Long-standing Boris Johnson supporters tonight find themselves surrounded by scores of new recruits.
I've been a Boris backer and I've been promoting him behind the scenes, on my own in some cases, against people who...
You're an early adopter.
I am an early
Now
adopter.
surrounded by Johnny-come-latelys.
Well, I don't know about that. I wouldn't be saying...
There's an awful lot of people you didn't expect to see around you in this big tent.
Well, yes, but that's what this place is all about, isn't it? I mean, heavens, you've been covering politics long enough to know that's exactly what happens here.
Opportunism,
ambition. I'm not going to slag off my colleagues as to what they want to do, what jobs they're after. That's not for me to say.
Some of Boris Johnson's newer, less Brexiteer recruits said their greatest fear was a run-off against Dominic Raab, making their candidate go harder line on Brexit.
Certainly has been pretty good in terms of preparing me for other big moments.
But the brand new video didn't rescue the campaign. Westminster swirling with rumours that Boris Johnson's campaign may have loaned votes to keep Jeremy Hunt in second place. Their best chance, it was argued, of a more civil, less damaging contest.
It's just a load of rubbish. I can't find anybody who's actually initiated that or knows anything about it. So it sounds like a great story, but I'm afraid it's rubbish.
I'm loving the conspiracy theories. I think people voted for Sajid because they recognise that he's got so much to offer the country and he has some really, really fresh ideas.
Today's results, announced by the backbench grandees, still show a leader well ahead of a tight group below. Another ballot, this time tomorrow. Doesn't look like it'll settle things.
Well, joining me now is Rory Stewart supporter Gillian Keegan. How nasty is this getting?
Well, it's not nasty at all as far as I've seen. I've certainly not been nasty with anyone. I think I was just telling you, I was out last night for a drink with Mark Francois. You know, we're very different views, but, you know, we're all still colleagues.
Is this a real contest? Because Boris Johnson seems so far ahead.
It's a real contest because there's a long way to go in the contest, and you know, 2 people will go to the members and that resets the dial, and then obviously the members need to decide, and there's going to be 16 hustings. Some of them will be live streamed. I mean, that's going to be tough, a lot of scrutiny.
How has this surge happened? I mean, have you been lent votes by any teams, do you think?
I don't think so. I mean, you know, how's it happened? Because his plan makes sense. The same way that I chose Rory, I went round all the candidates, listened to their plans. You know, I've got a long decades of business experience, so I was able to look at it through that lens. And his plan is the most sensible. That's the reality.
Isn't his plan just Theresa May's plan, really? I mean, he wants the withdrawal agreement that's been rejected 3 times.
The reality is that there's no problem with Brexit, in my view. There's no problem with the deal, in my view. The problem is Parliament, a hung Parliament, which has led to lots of people who want, you know, to rerun the referendum or to have some kind of different outcome have been focused on that. Yes, so you need to unblock Parliament. How are we going to unblock Parliament? Well, there's been a couple of elections which may move minds, but also, obviously, whoever comes back will be mandated by the members, so that changes things as well. And then Rory's idea is basically, you know, if you can't unblock Parliament or you can't do no deal, which all of us think, unless you prorogue Parliament, you'll probably be stopped doing that, then the reality is you still need to unblock Parliament, and the best way to do that, we believe, is to basically have this kind of separate group, Brexit Assembly, if required, which basically is shining a light on whether it is fair for 30 MPs to basically stop this deal going through and as a result impact thousands of businesses and millions of people in this country because 30 MPs won't vote for a very reasonable deal.
What would a Boris Johnson victory mean?
Well, I don't know what his plan will be.
I mean, how bad would it be from your point of view?
Oh, I don't have it. You know, at the end of the day, I don't know what he's going to do. You know, I think he's got quite a wide interpretation of what his plan might be. I mean, obviously everybody's going to try and renegotiate, but everybody's also been told very clearly the withdrawal agreement isn't reopening. Of course, there'll be some stuff that can be put in the political declaration, and that may be enough to also give people comfort. So we're all going to get the same answer, right?
And will it be the age of deceit? Will we be moving into an era in which lies don't matter anymore?
Well, they certainly matter. The reason I'm on Rory's team and the reason it's been a pleasure actually to represent him and talk to you guys is because he is proving that actually there is a place for an honest politician, for honesty, you know, and someone has the courage to face people every day, face to face, and also tell them the truth. And there is a place for that, and I'm very proud that we're part of that kind of campaign.
Gillian Keegan, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Let me just bring in Iain Duncan Smith, who's just behind you, and a Boris Johnson supporter, of course. Gillian Keegan just saying there that Rory Stewart is the man who tells the truth. That's something of a contrast to your man, isn't it?
Well, I'm not sure what the truth means in Rory Stewart's case, I have to tell you, because up until now he's not said a word about what he's going to do, and now we're to discover that actually he's got some wacky scheme to go out to a people's collective and then come back and tell Parliament what to do. And Parliament's turned the deal down, he's just going to return it. It's a bit of a mess, really.
Well, you're saying People's Collective. It's quite a simple idea, isn't it? It's a people's jury. It worked in Ireland. It helped them unlock the abortion issue.
I see. One simple issue, which is a free vote issue, as opposed to an issue which contains a huge change to the United Kingdom. We've had the referendum. That was the people's jury. We now need to deliver on it, and that's the key point. Rory Stewart needs to decide whether he's going to leave or not leave, but Boris Johnson is clear. You leave on the 31st, come what may.
Well, except you can't necessarily, can you? I mean, he intends to leave on the 31st, but it's not in his gift.
It's completely in his gift, because
well,
at the end
Parliament
of the
can
day,
stop you, is what I'm
no,
saying.
well, actually, hang on a second. We are still a member of the European Union, and Article 50 is very clear that unless we ask for and accept an extension on the 31st of October, we leave. That's
Parliament
it, done.
might do that.
Well, Parliament can't force somebody to accept an extension. It can't pass a law to force a government to accept an extension. Parliament, as the other day, as you saw, a few days ago, decided that it was not going to block us leaving on the 31st of October.
Are you really saying that if Parliament votes definitively against no deal in the last week of October, Boris Johnson would just ignore it?
I just must tell you this very simply. You can play hypothetical games. The reality is we are down under Article 50 to leave on the 31st of October. You make all sorts of assumptions, but there is only one candidate that has made that clear pledge who is now still standing, and that's Boris Johnson.
Well, that was what I was going to ask you. I mean, you must be pleased Dominic Raab is out, because he was the only candidate who could outflank you when it came to Brexit.
Well, no, I like Dominic very much, and he's out now, and I hope he'll come and support Boris. But the key element is most of the party wants to deliver Brexit, and the key is by the 31st of October. And if you haven't watched the local elections, the Euro elections and Peterborough, and you don't get the fact that the British people are really angry about not having delivered this, then you must be living in a different world. And my message simply to my colleagues is, look, we've got to deliver it, and everybody else has to buckle behind it.
But that raises the question of Nigel Farage and the Brexit Party. I mean, if Boris Johnson is still being opposed and not trusted by Nigel Farage, you can still be outflanked by the Brexit Party.
You're doing a lot of outflanking at the moment, if you don't mind me saying so.
This is all about tactics, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's not. It's about principle. Are we going to leave or are we not going to leave? Are we going to leave on the 31st of October? Boris Johnson has said he wants to have an arrangement with them, and I think that's doable. But if we don't, we leave anyway on the 31st of October. And here's the key. We've made that clear pledge. What the Brexit Party is about, it's about an anger about not delivering Brexit. If the Conservative Party delivers Brexit, gets us out on the 31st of October, then the reason for the Brexit Party begins to disappear.
Might you need an election to do it, do you think?
No, I don't think so.
A lot of people think Boris Johnson will come in, call a snap election on, back me on Brexit, beat Corbyn, and then go out.
I never speculate, but I'm not in favour of an election. I think we have a job to do. We have until October the 31st to sort out our preparations, which I can do, and also to make sure that we leave on the 31st with an arrangement, which would be about free trade or not. And that's the key essence. And the deal is all about, over to you, the EU. You either want to manage process out, or you don't. It's your decision.
Iain Duncan Smith, thank you very much. Now, after the results came in, I spoke to the Defence Secretary, Penny Mordaunt, who supports Jeremy Hunt, and I began by asking her what she makes of the results.
Well, I'm pleased that Hunt is still in second place, in the place he needs to be to get into the final. I think in round one you saw people place their votes for where people wanted to put those votes. In these subsequent rounds you'll probably see some tactical voting going on. I think it's really important we get serious candidates into the final.
Who isn't serious?
Well, I think Hunt is a serious candidate. He's got, I think, the best plan and the best chance at opening up the deal and not just delivering Brexit, but delivering it swiftly and well.
But he's way behind, isn't he? I mean,
well, he's in second place.
But he's way behind. I mean, he's like 80 votes behind.
Well, I mean, there are two people going forward into the final. There is obviously the next stage of the contest to happen. I think a Boris Hunt final would be good for the party. I think we'll actually get into the issues. It will be done, I think, in a way that is not divisive, and we will come out with the choice that the party can unite behind. What I think would be doing the country a disservice, because remember, it's the Prime Minister we're also selecting as well as the leader of our party.
But we should have a general election, shouldn't we?
Well, no, I don't think we need to do that. I think we need to deliver Brexit, quite frankly. I think the public, that's what they want us to do and get on with. But I do think that we will have failed if we come out of this process having just stamped on the fault lines of division in the Conservative Party. That's not going to do us any good, and it won't have done the country any good either.
Isn't it the brutal truth that Conservative Party members think Boris Johnson has got charisma and he's an election winner, and Jeremy Hunt isn't? He's just too dull.
I think that they need to get to know him better, and I hope they get the chance to get to know him better. Jeremy Hunt is not dull. He's a serious guy. He has, I think, the most credible plan to actually deliver Brexit. Every candidate's going to say they can deliver Brexit, but it ain't that straightforward. He, I think, will give us the best chance of getting it done well. Yes, we could go on WTO terms. I'm a Brexiteer. You know, I think delivering Brexit is, even if we have to go no deal, we'll have to do that. But it's not the best thing for our country. And I think while there is a chance that we can get something better, we've got to fight for it. And Hunt is a fighter, and that's why I'm backing him.
And if Boris Johnson wins, would that be a disaster?
Well, I think whoever wins this contest, we have to come behind that individual. But I think that is going to be easier if it is someone who can reach out to all sides of the party, who doesn't throw mud at other candidates, is a serious, decent person, and that person for me is Jeremy Hunt.